Even for a one-bag life, like every other lifestyle, there are things that you need, things that you maybe don't necessarily would need, and the absolute necessary essentials that you shouldn't leave behind. That's why in this video you will see an extreme minimalist approach to the absolute necessary essential items you should bring even for a one-bag life. And as always, I will give you my best tip on how you can find the items that should be absolute necessary essentials to you at the end of the video, even if you are not pursuing a one-bag life. So don't miss out. For all of you who are new to my channel, I'm Sven. Just an extreme minimalist with less than 150 possessions, whose biggest desire is to live a one-bag life out of just one carry-on sized backpack. So if you end up liking the video, don't forget to subscribe and like, but most important, share a comment with your thoughts at the end of the video and join me on my journey to a true one-bag life and to see how a minimalist lifestyle could look like. But I would say, let's get started. I think everybody who is watching this video right now thought at one point or another about the really necessary items to bring in your bag on your next trip or vacation. And maybe the most difficult part was to decide which items are really necessary essentials and which items are just cool, just in case items. For me, it was the same. I had a daily carry that doesn't really fit into my pockets, and I even need to bring an extra sling or an extra bag just to carry every item that I want to take with me on a daily basis or for vacation or a trip. Just as I turned to minimalism and then extreme minimalism and pursuing a one-bag life, I realized that the most important items, the absolute necessary essentials, are not a lot of items, and most of them will fit just right into your pocket. Maybe the single most important item is actually a passport or an ID card. Even if you lose everything else, you lose your whole bag and everything else, if you can carry one passport or one document that identifies your identity, you should be able to go to the next police station or embassy and get some help. So this is why I always carry one of them on my person on every point in time. When I'm traveling, it's most of the times one of my passport, and on other times when I'm back home in Germany, it's my ID card. But the most important thing that you should be aware of is maybe always to keep a copy of both of them in your pocket, so that even if your passport gets lost, you always have a copy on your person that you can validate as yourself for your identity wherever you go. The second most important thing that you should always bring on every trip and should be an absolute necessary essential is money. This is maybe very obvious, and most of the times I would consider a credit card as maybe the most important thing, but especially here in Southeast Asia I learned that to bring some cash is always the preferred way, because of a lot of things you can only pay cash. So to have like a little bit of emergency money on your person at all times is a very, very good thing, especially because sometimes you don't know when something happens to you. Maybe you have a medical incident that you need to go to the hospital and grab sometimes a lot of money to get a medical treatment, or even, as I said, if you lose your whole bag and you have maybe a credit card on your person at all the time, you can always buy, I think, 99% of the things you carried in your bag. The third item you should always carry on your person, and is one of the absolute necessary essentials for me personally, is a health insurance. I can show you my actual health insurance because there's like all of my data written on it, so I will just show you my copy of it. And for me personally, I would say this is as important as your passport, because you never know when something could happen to you, when you get like an infection or you get a cold and you want to go to the doctor. You always should have a proper, I would say, health insurance for yourself. So if you're traveling, go get a travel insurance. If you're self-employed or if you're just regularly employed, go get a health insurance that covers all of your needs for your special situation. And as with the passport, where I always carry like a full-sized copy of my passport, I would definitely say you should always carry a copy of your health insurance at your person at every point in time, because you never know when you're going to need it, especially in an emergency situation. The last most important, absolutely necessary essential in my opinion, is prescription medication, especially an emergency amount of prescription medication. So you should know it by now, and for yourself if you need it, that prescription medication can sometimes be hard to find. especially when you're traveling to like more remote countries where you don't have a hospital right around the corner. It's always very, very important to have, as I said, an emergency amount of prescription medication on your person at all the time, because you never know if you have the chance to go to the next hospital that is maybe hours away from your place where you're staying, and you should always be prepared for some emergency situations. And actually that will conclude every item that I think for me personally is an absolutely necessary essential. And some of you may ask now why I don't include a phone or a similar device like that. And actually, personally, I don't think that is an absolutely necessary item. And the reason for that is I personally wouldn't rely on my phone to keep everything stored that I just showed you. So a copy of my passport, a copy of my travel insurance, and especially maybe the money or the credit cards that it can store as like an e-credit card. Because especially when you're going to very remote places where either way you don't have maybe like a cellular connection or you don't have power outlets everywhere, that when your phone dies, you can't immediately recharge it, you would lose all your documents that you need to verify you or to have, as I said, a travel insurance on your hand. So I would say, even if it helps in a lot of situations and is very useful for many, many things, for absolutely essential items, I wouldn't consider a phone really necessary, because I think you can get help from a lot of persons all around you. And as I said, if you have an ID to verify yourself, if you have a good travel insurance or health insurance in general that covers all the major things that could happen to you in emergency cases, if you have then some cash or some money on your person that you can give away, especially in very emergency situations, and you have the most important medicine that you need for your personal health, I think you are very well covered for almost every situation that could occur. As you can see, you really don't need that much items as your absolutely necessary essentials. As I said, maybe some items can help you in certain situations, but you should always carry the most important items, especially when you're traveling, always on your person to be prepared for every situation. And the last thing that you should always look for, especially for your passport and for your travel insurance, and maybe also for your credit card or for your, I don't know, money card, when you can say it like that, is that all the documents are still valid, so you don't get in any problems, especially when you're crossing borders or when you're going to the hospital, that you don't have, as I said, any problems because they are not valid anymore. So now that you know what an extreme minimalist approach to the really absolute necessary essentials, even for a one-bag life, looks like, here is my best tip for you, how you can find your absolute necessary essentials, even if you're not pursuing a one-bag life. The first thing that you should do is look or assess your current situation. I'm very sure that you're already carrying for your everyday carry, or when you go to travel or to vacation, that you already have items that you will always bring with your person that you would consider by now very essential items. So the first step would be to lay all of these items on the table, especially for your everyday carry and, as I said, for your travels and for your vacations, to see what you consider at the moment the most important items that you would bring to every travel and to every trip and to your, as I said, daily carry. The next thing would be to cut down on everything that you don't need in an emergency situation. For me personally, I always ask myself, do I need 2 or 3 credit cards? And I learned for myself that I definitely need 2 if I lose one, but I don't need 3, especially when I'm traveling. And in an emergency situation, I thought about my car, so my car keys, but I just found myself, it is a very, very useful thing. The same with the phone. But I don't think in an emergency situation that it would help me that much as the other items that I mentioned. So maybe you should ask yourself, what are really the most important items of all? Even if you're in an emergency situation, these would be the only that you can bring, and cut out everything that you don't need. Lastly, you should create an emergency wallet or an emergency folder for yourself, where you can put all the important documents and especially all the copies of the important documents to find them very easy and quickly. In some cases, maybe for a credit card, you should think about getting a backup one so you can put the other credit card as well into your emergency folder. So if anything happened to you, or if there's an emergency and you can only grab one thing, you always know you can grab this folder or this emergency wallet and you've got everything on your person that you need. So I would highly, highly encourage you As I said, to assess what you really need, to make copies of everything, and as I said, maybe for your credit card or something else, maybe to get a backup credit card so you don't have the hassle to look for everything else before you can just take the folder or the wallet and can go anywhere. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and like, but most important, share a comment down below with your absolute necessary essentials at the moment. The next video will be about the easiest and simplest way to pack your bag and fit everything inside that you need. In the meantime, you can watch my last video where I show you the most important miscellaneous items that should be in every backpack and how you can find the absolute must-haves for you. As always, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.